Today I fucked up by not knowing what choking the chicken meant. This happened when I was like 12 years old. I am 29 now. I was raised by, and lived with my grandparents most of my childhood, and my grandmother tried to shelter me, I assume to protect me from things she saw vulgar, evil, or just something she didn't personally agree with. She also was very strict about me having boyfriends, or talking about any type of sexual activity, as well as learning sexual terms. My uncle came to our house one afternoon to eat with us on his lunch break. Well, he was a police officer who drove an unmarked patrol car. That morning he had stopped and arrested someone for publicly masturbating. When he told my grandmother the story about it, I was sitting with them at the dining room table, and I'm assuming to protect my virgin ears he used choice words to describe the incident. He said to my grandmother, "Yeah, I had a crazy start to my shift. My first encounter of the day, I had charged a man for choking his chicken." 12-year-old me, not having a clue what that actually meant, blurted out, "So what you charge him with? Animal cruelty?" I was dead serious asking him that too. Then him and my grandmother spit out their food in a fit of laughter, and they literally laughed until they cried. I didn't find out why it was so funny until a few weeks later that choking the chicken actually meant that he had charged a man with masturbating in public. I felt pretty dumb after I had found out, but I was also able to laugh about it later on in life. It's a funny story to be able to tell my kids if I have some one day. Too long didn't read, thought the term choking the chicken was a type of animal cruelty. Wow, best story I have seen on Today I Fucked Up. I am wheezing. Glad that you enjoyed it, and thanks for unknowingly proving the person below you wrong. Awesome. I love Today I Fucked Ups that does not sound like a 14-year-old boy's made-up sexual encounters. Childhood memories are sometimes the best. Kids really are so innocent, and it causes some hilarious things to manifest from their thought process. My first language isn't English, and I haven't ever heard this expression except today. I would otherwise have guessed it'd say some way to decapitate a chicken. At least there are some that had the same thought as I did. Makes me feel less lonely. Thank you. I had a similar incident at about 5. An older boy in the neighborhood asked me if I liked to beat my meat. All I knew about beating meat was a tenderizer hammer my mom used on steaks. So I told him my mom beats it for me. There was a small group that fell out rolling on the ground in insane laughter, and I was lost in understanding why and embarrassed at what I must have done stupidly wrong. I laugh today, though it took a few years to get the joke. WTF is up with some kids asking younger ones about sexual stuff just to embarrass them or make them feel dumb or whatever. There was this bully kid on the bus used to do the same stuff when I was little. He was probably 13 to 15 when I was 7 or 8, and he'd ask us stuff like, "Do you know what masturbation is?" with this shit-eating grin on his face. I hated that. Your reaction was funny, in your story was funny, not gonna lie, but the older kids that are like that are really disturbing, and it worries me what's going through their head. When I was about 12 I thought jizz meant pee, didn't fuck that one up more than once. Ha ha ha, all it takes is misjudging something once. Today I fucked up by saying I wanted to have sex with my boss's underage daughter. Not as bad as the title suggests, I swear. I work at an auto parts sales place. As anyone who works in the automotive business knows, the language in the shop is generally rated R. Example, I had a co-worker once tell me that his wife told him breakfast was hot and ready, then she put her leg up on the table, and she wasn't wearing anything under her dress. You get the idea. I'm a bit of a loser slash nerd slash vanilla, so my stories can't compare unfortunately, but I do try to fit in still. All of our customers have their own accounts, but every so often we need to look up a part to check stock, or to bring in parts from another location. Since if we used an actual customer's account it would screw with the numbers, we created a special account for theses purposes. We called it Amanda's Garage. I was joking around with my boss, and when he showed me this account I said, I wouldn't mind parking my car in Amanda's garage." He looked at me and said, "Amanda is my 13-year-old daughter." Turns out when he created the account he named it after his daughter. So I had just told him I wanted to have sex with his daughter. Luckily he just laughed it off, and called me an idiot. This was 10 years ago. Not sure how I am still working here, but thank God I am. Too long didn't read, boss named an account after his daughter, and I unknowingly said I wanted to have sex with her. Well, at least she's 23 now, so you can park your car in her garage now. Came here to say this, but someone stole my parking spot. That was 10 years ago. So Amanda and her garage is 23 now? Just saying. I work in a factory, where I told my work partner that one night, years ago, after a concert and a lot of alcohol/cocaine, I let my kinky, at the time, girlfriend lick my asshole while she jerked me off. Now whenever rim jobs get brought up, people look at me. Gotta love working with the lewd crowd. When I was fire department battalion chief, my about 23-year-old daughter called me one day to say she'd been in a wreck on a highway at the far north end of my district. I went up there, she was fine, but while I was there another wreck happened, so I called for a medic to respond. The alarm office sent the whole highway assignment, which included a rescue from the other side of town. While the rescue was on the way, I cancelled them, but they still had to come by the scene to get turned around. The next duty day, I went to some training with that same rescue. The guy in charge of the rescue said to me, "Too bad you cancelled us last day." She looked a little young, but she looked like a hot piece of ass. I said, "I'll be sure and tell my daughter you think she's a hot piece of ass." I've never seen somebody's head drop in shame so fast. My daughter, when she heard the story, having been around and heard stories about firefighters her entire life, thought it was funny as hell. Boy, have you lost your mind, 'cause I'll help you find it. Today I fucked up by asking my neighbor's son if he'd ever been in a Turkish prison. I was in my backyard chopping wood when the neighbors walked by with their dog. The boy is about 10 years old and I've always had a good relationship with him and them. I asked him if he had ever used an axe before, and then I messed up because I absent-mindedly then said, "Have you ever been in a Turkish prison?" using the quote from the great movie Airplane. Apparently his parents had never seen the movie before because they kept walking towards their house silently. It all didn't really process to me, and I followed up by asking him if he had ever seen a grown man naked. This all just happened a few minutes ago and I am still processing it. I'm slightly afraid that they are going to call the authorities on me. It's a very small town and at the very least this will probably lead to some bad gossip about me. The irony is that I have a son too and we have watched Airplane together and I truly meant no harm in my words. Too long didn't read, my neighbors have never seen the movie Airplane and I horribly misquoted it to their son. And don't call me Shirley. Seriously, man, not a good idea at all. You should have asked what the flying airspeed velocity of an unladen swallow is instead. If you've had a good relationship with them, I'm sure you can just explain yourself out over a cup of coffee or something. Yes, I was thinking I'd buy them a bottle of wine or something. Oh, embarrassing. I tend to speak without thinking first. Oh man, you were fine with the Turkish prison bit. That just sounds like a reference. The naked man part though is no good. Perhaps, gift them a copy of the movie. I love the movie, but I don't quote it to children. That is an FU for certain. You may want to reach out and apologize. I mean, I'll quote it to my children, but probably not a neighbor child. In the right crowd, that's hilarious. Maybe send them a copy of the movie and explain that the humor was fresh in your head from watching it. Make sure you explain that it is a spoof and equally cringe-worthy. Still confused for the kid even if the parents saw the movie. Would be funny though if the kid responded with, "Aren't you Kareem Abdul-Jabbar?"